What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. I'm Anthony. On today's video, we're going to talk about a survival food that no one really talks about. So stay tuned. That's right, today we're going to be talking all about the survival food that not very many people are talking about, mainly because in the prepping, self-reliance, preparedness circles, you're probably going to hear one of the best survival foods to grow is going to be the sunchoke, Jerusalem artichoke, the underground tuber that you can grow that's very inconspicuous because it basically turns into a flower. So if people were to come to your property to take your food, they would be less than likely to dig those up because they really don't know what they look like. I can't even talk right now. They really don't know what they look like. So it's the ultimate survival food because it's something that grows pretty easily, self-replicates pretty good, and is around a lot of properties that if you plant them, it will slowly start to spread. But on today's video, I wanted to talk about another survival food that really doesn't get a lot of play, and it absolutely should. That survival food that I'm referring to is the mushroom. This is a shiitake mushroom, and I know what some of y'all are thinking. Mushrooms? Absolutely not. No way. I don't like mushrooms, or they scare me, yada, yada, yada. Well, I'm here to give you a few reasons why you should consider growing your own mushrooms on logs. I don't just mean growing mushrooms on logs only. I'm talking you could also forage for quite a few mushrooms. And if you pay attention to my channel for any length of time, you know that I'm a humongous fan of foraging wild mushrooms. But there is also the cultivated variety, which is one of the focuses of this video because it is absolutely a survival food. Now, in the case of the Jerusalem artichoke or sunchoke, one of the main selling points is not a lot of people can recognize it. So if someone were to come to your property, one of the marauders or whatever else that comes through, they're probably going to walk right by the patch, try to go for the food that's in cans or boxes or whatever, and leave that behind. So at least you have some food remaining, okay? That's a good plus. But one of the pluses of mushrooms is most of the population is absolutely terrified of them, and they don't know what they're looking for, so they automatically assume all mushrooms are deadly and they won't touch them. So if you have a whole bunch of mushrooms growing on the property, congratulations, you have a survival food as well. And another plus about mushrooms that I definitely have to make sure I mention is most of them start fruiting when the weather changes, whether it be to spring to summer, winter to spring, or summer to fall, as in this case, summer to fall. They like that change in temperature. When a lot of things are starting to die back, not put out anymore, these just get going. I'm sure some of y'all are probably, very skeptical. You're probably like, well, you're probably talking one or two or maybe a handful. How ludicrous can this be? Check this out. If you've been following along with this channel for any length of time, you remember when I made this. I made this about 2 years ago, and last year it fruited pretty well, but this year, oh my goodness. That's kind of ridiculous, don't you think? So, this is just one log. I have one over here, I have 3 over there, and as you see, I made a whole bunch more. Now you tell me, do you think this is enough food that you could live comfortably on for at least a little while? Because I think so. This right here on just one log is probably, I don't even know how many pounds, but I'll find out and I'll let you know here at the end of the video when I pick all these and weigh them out. This is a shiitake mushroom, okay? Shiitake mushrooms are more or less considered medicine, but they're also a very meaty mushroom. That means they don't lose a lot of consistency when they dry out. So you can absolutely store these after dehydrating, and when they rehydrate in boiling water, they soak it all back up and they retain a lot of that meaty consistency. So having these not shrink down is a big plus, considering the fact that if you have 1 cup of cooked shiitake mushrooms, you're looking at about 80 calories, mainly from carbohydrates. They have a lot of fiber, but there is also a good amount of protein. I think 2.3 grams per cup of cooked shiitakes. But the main thing you got to focus on is this is a wonderful source of minerals and vitamins. Now, the 3 main minerals that are in here that you absolutely should be focusing on a lot is going to be zinc, copper, and selenium. 3 of these are very hard to find and not in meat sources, okay? A lot of times you're going to have to eat seafood to be able to get things like zinc, selenium, and copper, okay? Seafood, chocolate, pretty much hard to find things, especially if you live inside or away from the coast, okay? So having something that's very bioavailable is amazing because mushrooms are not like plants. It's not like a vegan option. Your body can actually digest these and use them. To mention, they have over 100% of your daily amount of vitamin B5 in that 1 cup of cooked shiitake mushrooms. Now, B vitamins are another thing that is going to be harder to find. A lot of them are water soluble, so it means you have to eat them all the time because your body's not going to store excess like it would vitamin K or vitamin A. So having a good source is going to be paramount here. So that's why if you have the opportunity, if you have the space, if you have a lot of hardwoods like I do, you should probably consider growing your own mushrooms because it's, number one, very easy, and number two, look how lucrative it can be after you do all your hard work. You do all your hard work in July of 2023, and looky here, October 2025, I have my second major fruiting of this particular mushroom. Now, one more point that I absolutely have to make sure that I'm hammering home is mushrooms, not all, but most mushrooms, occur during the change of seasons, which makes it another bonus for why you should be paying attention here. Yes, in the middle of summertime, you'll have things like chanterelles, some amanita varieties that are very good, which will pop up around the same time as most of your garden. But for the most part, a lot of the meatier quality mushrooms that are going to give you quite a bit of sustenance are going to be ones that you find during those change of seasons. In the springtime, you're going to have things like morel mushrooms. In the fall, you're going to have things like shiitakes, oysters, lion's mane, chicken of the woods, things like that. And in the wintertime, you can even find some, because lion's mane will grow into the winter, along with the wood ear mushrooms and shrimp of the woods, several of which I've done in my own playlist. I'll put it up here and down below. So I definitely want to make sure I hammer that point home, that the reason why this is a survival food is because it sometimes pops up when nothing else is growing. But another point that I absolutely have to make sure that I'm hammering home is the fact that you don't just want to walk through the woods willy-nilly picking up mushrooms off the ground and putting them in your mouth. Most mushrooms, about 99% of mushrooms that you can eat, are not edible until they are cooked. So you have to make sure you're cooking all of them. And if you don't know what you're doing, you have to make sure you're picking up a field guide, preferably several field guides, because you want to make sure that you are cross-referencing as much as possible to make sure that you are 100% sure of what you're putting in your mouth. Because if you're not sure, don't eat it, okay? Don't eat it. Simple as that. Because some mushrooms will kill you. Absolutely 100% kill you within like less than a cap, okay? So you have to know what you're doing. That's why it's so serious. But it's one of the things that makes it a survival food because they are so dangerous. If you know what you're doing, you can still be eating good while everyone else is starving. Here are a few field guides that I like. The Simon & Schuster's field guide right here is a pretty good one. Mushroom to the Southeast. This is basically my mushroom Bible. I'm always going back and forth through this one. Field Guide to Mushrooms of the Carolinas is also a really good one. Reads just like a standard field guide. And The Complete Mushroom Hunter by Gary Linkoff. It's not like a normal field guide, but it definitely shows you a whole bunch about lookalikes, so it is very valuable as well. So hopefully I was able to lay down my point thoroughly as to why I consider mushrooms to be one of the ultimate survival foods, okay? Today we focused heavily on the shiitake mushroom, but there are several others out there that are much more nutritious and much more calorie dense that just aren't growing in my property right now, okay? As the seasons start to change more, as these leaves behind me start dropping more, you will start finding them, and trust me, when I do find them, I will make sure I put shorts, if not a full video about them, because I love them so much. But this is one of those subjects where I think a lot of people don't pay attention to it or are a little bit nervous because this is one of those things you can't fake, okay? You cannot fake the funk when it comes to learning mushrooms. Again, some of these are deadly, and if you don't know what you're doing, you will absolutely kill yourself. So in order to avoid that, you have to make sure that you are paying attention to every single little detail. And I go over again in several videos how to pay attention to what you're doing. So hopefully this video gives you a little bit more of a push to start learning the ones that are growing in your area, if not growing your own in logs that you cut down yourself. Because once you grow the ones that you're supposed to, the cultivated varieties, you know what they look like. And since you know what they look like, because you grew them yourself, you'll have that eye keen to whenever you find them in the wild, okay? So that's why I want to do this video. So hopefully you learned something. If you did, please do me a humongous favor and give this one a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you are not, and I will catch y'all on the next one, okay? Bye. I'm gonna be honest, I only harvested half. I'm letting the rest of these grow to a little bit bigger because they can absolutely double in size. But as you see, I harvested half of this one log, and this is how many mushrooms I got. 3.5 pounds.